Okay, this is Frink, and Frink is an evolution of Ralph Wiggum. So we've been seeing this idea of running in the loop or running a while loop without end to improve software, and it's generating shock waves all across the internet as one of the ways in which you can use agents and Claude Code. So what I did is I thought about this idea and I implemented a very simple Ralph Wiggum project here.
All work is finished.
And then I decided to make some improvements. So the problem with Ralph Wiggum is that it's storing in a local host all of your specs and features, although they're formatted in a way that can be easily understood by an LLM. And what I wanted is to have them stored somewhere else. And I've been thinking for weeks already that instead of storing this as plain text, and let's say we put here a set of 5 features or 7 or whatever, why can't we store them online on a database? And in this case I selected ConvexDB because I love the real-time features that it has. So instead of storing here and bloating your source code, let's put them on the database, on a real-time database, and then use the RAG features, the retrieval augmented generation features of Convex, to search for the right context for a specific feature. So if I want to start implementing something and I need to retrieve the context of past features, then it would make sense to pick them up from that Convex database or the RAG system there. So in order to launch this process, what I did is I made a first specification of Frink somewhere here, and then I Ralph Wiggum'd it. So I started with the script and said, okay, first thing, let's develop this app on an infinite loop on Ralph Wiggum. Once we have that, then somewhere here I issued a command to self-improve, that is, why don't you Frink Frink? And this means Frink is built on a way it can pick up any source repository that
All work is finished.
a sibling of your folders. So if I have my projects in GitHub, in my documents GitHub folder, and I have Frink there, I can point it to any repository, and then I can adopt the repository that I want. That means it's going to reverse engineer the source code. It's going to transfer it over into the RAG system of Convex, and then out of that I can start implementing new features. So what I'm doing now is I'm asking Claude to generate these features for me, but I also have a dashboard here where I can do the same thing. So here's the dashboard, and here you see I have a couple of projects running or active, and if I see here, Frink is Frinking itself. So if I click over here, I see there's a context of features that are implemented already that were transferred over to the RAG, and there are 13 features that we're working on, and then recent implementations of these features. There's a few of these done already. For instance, there's something interesting here is real-time variables output for human in the loop supervision. This is coming up here. This was a feature that was generated by Frink itself. So you can see recent runs and what's happening, when did it happen, and I guess if you click here, you can see details what happened there in the log. You're now accessing the loop there of the process. And then what's ready, let me see, something interesting here was implementing a shortcut here, Command K, so you can add features or view stats or just jump somewhere very quickly. Then another feature that was self-implemented was to see these learnings. Sometimes you have success, sometimes you have failures. Sorry for that. And another section here is to have a look directly. If I click on Frink here, I can see the context chunks, that is what is being stored right now on the rack. And you see that there's a few things that are coming from certain documents. So you see if I click here, then I see blocks that are being stored as part of the specification right into the rack, so I can see the chunk here. So it's picking up the README of the project itself, so that it goes and splits that into the rack system, and they can be retrieved when you're running a certain spec or running a certain feature. Then it's going to be recovering a certain number of specs so that it has the right context. So the goal here is never to go into what I call lobotomy, that is the compaction. So when you're working with Claude
All
Code
work is finished.
directly, like here, once in a while you see that the context runs out, and then you'll need to go through a compacting process that is pretty arbitrary. You will lose information there. It's not, it's kind of not optimized to remember the critical things that maybe you want to have. So by running the whole loop, then what you have is an optimized context that never goes away. You can always retrieve the features you're doing. And then there's this iteration process where you implement and at the same time build the spec. So this is something we were working on before on Cambric, the idea of picking up a source code and then moving that over to the spec, and then using the spec to generate source code again in a kind of a reversible loop, which is another concept that the creator of Ralph Wiggum, Geoffrey Huntley, has spoken about. The idea of running Ralph Wiggum in reverse. So yeah, pretty cool. This keeps running. I have a hook that I use here in Claude Code. Anytime I had Claude running and finishing a process, then I have this WAV audio saying everything's finished, or kind of signaling. And this is because I was perhaps doing something else off the computer, and I wanted to have a notification to know that I can come back and send another prompt. So you'll hear that as this is running in a loop, it's kind of picking up that webhook and triggering that message over and over. So yeah, let's see where this goes. Some ideas to keep improving. Now the latest that I wanted to push here is to run this. So I want to work on 5 features to optimize Frink for LLM work. So what I want is not to privilege the user experience or the developer experience, but instead thinking about LLM experience. What is this? It's kind of optimizing the system or the orchestrator to optimize token consumption, to make whatever we're defining
All work is finished.
On the features or the set that we're building on for an LLM to work on. So the clarity has to be for an LLM and not for a human. And also seeing if we can get an edge or take an advantage of the RAG convex system to improve the speed of execution and bandwidth. And secondly is this idea of integrating skills. So I have to be honest, I haven't used skills in Claude Code and I feel bad about that. But I think I can pass it over to Frink and then ask it to incorporate any skills that it seems that it deems to be useful for the process at hand. So yeah, that's it. Hope you like it and find this interesting. And if you want to try this out, just let me know. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Probably I'm going to be working on my own repositories, but maybe at some point I'll think of releasing this if we get some traction or interest.